This is a Takagi Marco M3 series slit lamp, and we're going to address the slit drift on here. There's a couple ways you can do it, a quick way and a more thorough way. If you find the slit adjuster turning easily, and that's causing the slits to drift closed, well, that might be a simple adjustment of the tension in here. If it's already tough or stiff and hard to turn, then the solution would probably be to refurbish the shaft of the old grease, to clean it and to put new grease on here. But we're going to try the quick adjustment, and it's going to be behind this cap here by removing this Phillips screw. And underneath here, that's a brake shoe, the little brass thing, they call that the brake shoe, and the spring. There's a spring, it's like a little pin. And as this is tightened, this set screw in here, as it's tightened, it puts pressure on that spring, which puts pressure on the brake shoe, which puts pressure on the shaft, which makes it harder to turn, and so less likely to drift closed. So if this is turning really easily, well, it could just be this needs to be tightened. You would just get your Allen wrench and turn it, maybe a quarter turn, and see. Now it's going to make this a little stiffer, but it needs to have some tension because the spring is pushing down on your stage, and so that's what's causing it to collapse, because this isn't holding that rod up. So try that. Try to tighten it and then check it. Look through your binoculars and see, is the slit holding with every way? No matter how much you open it, is it staying put, or does it start drifting in at a certain point? If it starts drifting in, then this needs to either be tightened. But if you keep tightening it and then it's just really hard to turn and it's still drifting, well, then that's a sign that you would need to refurbish this. And hopefully you have access to Haag-Streit number 9 grease, because that's really the best kind of grease to put in here, because it has a thicker viscosity, and you need some tension on that grease. It just adds to the total tension that you need. A thin grease, you might be tightening this all day and it's still going to be easy to turn and collapse. So you need a thicker viscosity grease in here. So if we're going to be working on this slit adjustment assembly down here, we're going to need to relieve some of the pressure of the pin and the little piston that's going against this axle. We need to relieve that tension. So this stage is pushing down on this pin here, which pushes another little piston here. So we need to relieve some of this downward pressure. So what we're going to do is somehow lift the stage up to take the pressure off of this pin. And so to hold it up, we're going to put a little rubber band around the stage and then around the top of the upper illumination to hold it up. So if you have a rubber band lift it up and get it over that pin, go around, and then pick it up and put it over on top. Now it's holding our stage up, and there's no pressure on this pin, so we can pull our shaft out and push the little piston up out of our way, and it's not going to fall back down when we pull the shaft out. Now that we have the pressure off, we can begin to break this down. And we've already got this cap off with the Phillips screw. We can finish taking out this Allen set screw. Now they have a little bit of Loctite on there to hold it in place, and you might want to put something back on after you've refurbished it. And that keeps that little set screw in one position against the spring against the brake shoe to maintain that adjustment. Okay, you have that spring in here. We can just go ahead and pull this on out. Okay, the brake shoe stayed in here, and here's they call this the spring. It goes right up against if you see that brake shoe, it's got an angle to it. And the tighter you push the spring down, it goes further down on this brake shoe at this little angle, and that's what puts more pressure on it, because that's what it does. And this is the little friction washer. It's made out of some material, and that needs to be there. So you don't want to lose that ever. And it's got a little bit of grease on it, lubrication. That should be okay. Don't worry about that. Okay, we don't have to take anything else off here. We can leave this little fitting on here. But on this side, we're not going to take this Allen screw out yet. We're going to take the whole thing out. So there's a Phillips head underneath here that we're going to remove, and then we can pull this whole piece out. So if you look underneath, there's a Phillips. There it is. Okay, that's holding this whole thing, and now we can pull this part out. Now this is a little assembly in and of itself. You don't have to mess with this. This Allen screw is pushing up against this shaft, which connects to... Now, if I'm going to take this shaft out, I've got to rotate it so that it pushes the pin upward, and I can push it out. Now, as I push this out, this little piston that's on the bottom of this rod that the stage is putting pressure on, it's pushing this little piston down, and it's resting right on this bearing. And so as it's rotating, it goes up and down while you're rotating. And that's what's controlling that rod, which is pushing the stage up, which pushes your slits open. So this little piston, whatever you call it's got a concave, convex surface on it, and that's what goes up against the bearing. The flat part of it is going to connect to the pin underneath. And as you can see, this pin is coming out already. I'm going to pull it out. This rod is what pushes this little piston which rests against this bearing. So that's the mechanism. So what we're going to want to do is clean all the grease off of this shaft, and also inside here. We want to clean inside here where it's traveling, the travel. We want to clean inside here too. This is another view of the inside here, and this is our shaft. It goes in here, and this is how it travels. You may already know that, but if you didn't, that's what's going on. And your little piston is riding right on here, going up and down in here, and pushing the rod up. So we need to clean inside there with your cotton swabs and some type of cleaner to clean all the old grease off. Before we take this apart to clean it, go ahead and feel the current tension that's on there. Does it turn really easily, or do you feel a little bit of tension? There should be a little bit of tension on there because of the correct grease. But you'll see this is going to tighten on right where the notch is. On this shaft, there's a flat spot on it, and that's where that's going to connect. So you're always going to line it up correctly when you screw it up against the notch, because that's going to put that at 0 when the notch is all the way down, and that's your spring is all the way down. That's going to be 0. So that's where our screw is that we took out to take it out. See, that's on the bottom too. Everything is right at the bottom. That's what 0 is. So we'll take this apart. Depending how old it is, you'll see a lot of dirt and grease. I've already cleaned all this and done it, so it's clean now. But it could be dirt and grime in there, and so we'll need to take this apart and clean everything with wipe everything off and clean it, and then we're going to put our grease. And this is the grease that I'm talking about. Haag-Streit number 9 grease. So that's some good stuff when you're working with the slit adjustment assembly, because it's got just the right attention. And when you're working with anything having to do with the slits, the tension on the slits, usually the number 9 grease is what's going to be used. Okay, this art is already greased up because it's already been greased. So you would put a little bit on the shaft, and then on here you're going to see this raised level. You want to put just a little dab of grease right there on the raised level, because that's what's going to be pushing up against here. You can see there's a little bit of you can see the markings where the thin film of grease is riding right there. It's going to fit right there. So once you have grease on here and a little dab on this lip, I'm going to fit this back in like this, turn it around, make sure it's moving, well. If you have your little dab of grease there, you can put our other end on, turn it, make sure it's turning freely and there's no debris in there. And then we're going to line it up, so we're going to look for our notch, and we're going to tighten our set screw right there with the notch. And then we'll know we're at 0. You don't have to push these tight, real tight. You can just closed. You don't want a lot of gap, but you don't want it tight either. So you're gonna have to determine just how good it is. Okay, once you've gotten that tight, you can turn. It should be even. If it's easy and then all of a sudden it's hard, then something isn't quite right. Maybe the grease in here, you've got too much grease on one side and not any on the other, and so it's uneven. But this should be turning consistently. The tension should be even all the way around as you're turning it. And it shouldn't be really easy because the number 9 grease, the viscosity, keeps it from turning so easily. Okay, now that we've got that, we're going to be inserting it. Well, this is the way I do it. We're going to line everything up, and that's going to be 0 when I put my shaft in. I'm going to have this on the bottom, and I'm going to fit this part of it right when it's on the bottom. When everything is on the bottom, I'm going to be at 0, but it's okay if this is turned and you're fitting it in and you don't know, you can't find it. If you just keep turning it, it will eventually find the spot, and then you will just have to turn this to get your screw. Once you've got it in, you'll have to keep turning it, this part of the coupling, until this lines up for your screw to tighten it from the bottom. Okay, you notice the bearing in here. If you want to, it should be turning freely, but if you wanted to put just a little drop of rim oil on it, rim oil is a real thin oil, you could. I'm going to put a light coat of number 9 grease. And then I'm going to put some in here. And I'm going to put just a little bit on the inside there. A little dab where this is going to be rubbing up against the casing inside. And some on the other side. Now before I insert everything, I've got to put my rod and piston back in. So make sure this rod is clean. And this little piston is clean. And you might want to put some oil, a little bit of rim oil on this rod as we put it back in. So I'm going to put some on my fingers with gloves. And then rub the oil on this rod. and then slip it back through. To get a better angle, to get the rod back in, go ahead and tilt your tower assembly so that you have a better angle. And if you've got a nice little coat of rim oil on there on your rod, guided, it's going to want to come out. So make sure you have a little bit of rim oil on your piston. Make sure the concave side is on the bottom. And we're going to put that This actually works better if it were laying down, but since I have it up in the air, gravity is pushing everything down. So what I'm going to do is probably use this end to push it up, and then another stick to push in. And now the piston is staying up. And now I'm going to insert my shaft. If it kept falling down, you might want to install it so that the pin is in the upper position. But since it's staying up, we can go ahead and put it into the 0 position. So I'm setting this on even so that my pin is going to be on the bottom. So I'm going to start inserting it, and I can go ahead and align the notch up with it and push it in. And since my little piston was up in the air, it didn't come in contact. But if it kept falling down, you'd have to put something in there, or else turn your adjuster so that it's up in the air, so it will catch your little piston. Okay, now that's back in the air. That's back in. I'm going to turn it, and we're going to look under here and turn our outer holder until the screw lines up here to reinsert it. Okay, got that screw back in. Everything is still turning well. Now what I'm going to do is release my rubber band up top so that's holding the stage. We're going to release it to put pressure back down on our piston. I'm going to turn this to 0 so that our rod falls down. Now I can release our helper rubber band, which now puts pressure on that rod. The stage is moving freely, and as you can see, there's no pressure, so this pressure is making our slit drift. So we have to overcome that tension with stronger tension to keep it up in the air. Now we can reinstall our knob with the brake shoe in it. And it should already have its grease on here, which is probably good. If you had any extra grease here that you had in there, you could wipe that off, leaving a slight film. And what we're going to do, okay, we're 0, so we're going to turn our handle to 0, and now we're going to reinstall our spring. So we're going to try to get it so that it's resting on both sides of the brake shoe. and it's got to go back inside that notch. If you get it as even as you can, that will leave enough space for you to be able to start inserting your set screw. Now we can reinstall our set screw. And now we can start testing our tension. What's happening as we're tightening it? It feels pretty good. Doesn't seem to, it's not falling on its own. Okay, so try to screw it back in the same number of threads that came out, but if you don't know, it's okay. It's a feel thing. It's where we're trying to combat the pressure to turn it to be still. So that feels pretty good, but we don't know. So what we're gonna look through our binoculars and set up our fixation on a point and watch the slits as you're opening and closing. Are they staying put? Are they staying in one place? Okay, good. Well, is this too hard? Well, maybe you can come off a little bit and check that tension. If it's holding and it's good and it's not too hard to turn, but it's holding good, then you found it. You might need to tweak it. You're going to have to look through your binoculars to notice if the slit is holding when you release it. If you like it, you can put fingernail polish or Loctite back on those threads. And then look through when you think you've got it the way you like it, go ahead and insert your cap back in. There's a screw, and you've got to get it back in there, so you could put your Phillips on the screw itself and then aim for that spot. And then test it again. So if you need to make some adjustments, all you've got to do is take your screw out, turn it one way or the other. Once you have it, put some more Loctite on it, put it back in, and that should resolve the drift. If you wanted to see a little diagram of what we were doing, here's our knob with the brake shoe and the spring in it. There's a little felt washer in our shaft, and the bearings and the other shaft of the knob that we took apart. See, it doesn't have a brake shoe on the inside. Only this side does. This side doesn't have it, so there's nothing inside there.